Welcome to the Speak Like a Leader podcast with John Bates. Welcome to the show. I've got somebody today that I'm so excited to introduce you to that I can just barely stand it. And before we get to that, I just want to say to you that I'm very excited about making the trainings that I've been doing in the corporate world much more available via an online cohort-based course. So what it looks like is 10 weeks with 8 people in that course meeting every week to get you to your TED-like talk. It's called the Speak Like a Leader experience, and you can find it at ed for education, ed.executivespeakingsuccess.com. We'd love to have you. We run these things multiple times a year. And if you go to ed.executivespeakingsuccess.com, you can join us for the next one. Now, to get to our guest. My guest today is a retired Special Forces and submarine commander from the Indian Navy. He is one of the world's leading alpinists and extreme high altitude climbers. He's made multiple Everest summits. He's the only man to have led successful expeditions to Mount Everest, the South Pole, and the North Pole. He's been to 194 countries so far and has climbed the highest peak in 174 of them. Most likely, he's the man who's climbed the highest point in the most countries ever. And he has also walked the entire length of Africa from Tunisia to South Africa. And he has circumnavigated the globe in a sailboat. And he trekked the entire Silk Route from Mongolia to Istanbul. He is a fellow of the Royal Geographic Society, and he's also a TED fellow. And that's how we met. And his name is Satyabrata Dam. And you can find him online at satyabratadam.com. It's SatyaBratadam.com. And right now, Satya is in a remote village in the Himalayas sipping masala chai. And, you know, he is one of the greatest people I know in the world. We met, we became friends. We've gone on some very cold, but nothing like the Everest summits. We've climbed around here in Salt Lake City together in the winter, in the snow. And my family loves him. He's like a brother from another mother to me. And I am super excited to have you join us, Satyabrata. Thank you. How you doing?
Hi, John. It's great to be on your show and to share my views and ideas with your audience. So I'm just looking forward to it. And as usual, I'm super excited.
Good. Well, you know, you've got an interesting background and you've done a bunch of interesting stuff. And I want to start by just going back to your special forces and being a submarine commander in the Indian Navy, because it seems to me like there must have been some great leadership lessons and some great communication lessons that you got out of that period in your life. What comes to mind when I say that?
Yeah, John, you're absolutely right. I mean, you do have an armed forces background as well. So as we say that, perhaps there is no greater challenge to leadership than to lead men in war, where the leader pretty much leads them to their certain death. And of course, we don't want them to die, but I think we got to prepare our men mentally for that. And it's a very similar to also all my very extreme climbs, even on Everest. I always tell my group, either my clients or my team members, that are you willing to die for this? Yeah. So I think the leadership role that I've done, either as a special forces officer or as a submarine commander or up in the mountains, always leading men and women on the face of very, very adverse conditions, be it weather conditions, be it on enemy line of fire. So I think the challenges that one gets as a corporate leader or as a, let's say, a leader in the regular walks of life is very different to what we face in the armed forces, especially when you are in the special forces and you are in the submarine arm. where pretty much the commanding officer is like God actually, because he doesn't really have anybody else to turn to for his decision making. And as a human being, as a leader, either a Everest leader or or leading a special ops, black ops mission for my team, I pretty much the leadership challenges are very, very different from a civilian life. And the kind of leadership that challenges that we face in those kind of situations are very, very unique. And because the outcome could actually mean life and death, so there are also moments of great introspection, maybe later, and also of dilemma that what if I'm wrong? Then my boys will die, and I will die as well. So in a corporate leadership, if you are the CEO of, let's say, a big MNC, and you make a wrong decision, well, your stock market will, your stock values will go down. You'll lose a couple of millions of dollars perhaps, but nobody's going to die. So So and people have died on my watch. I have absolutely no I totally agree with. I mean, I would accept it honestly that both in war and both in mountains, I have lost boys in my team, and sometimes I have blamed myself for some leadership, maybe wrong decisions I have made. But if you really want to know that what is the key take on a leadership that I have learned from my own life, okay, when things are falling apart, let's say when bullets and missiles are falling and firing all around you. There are avalanches, there are crevasses, there are all sorts of objective and subjective hazards coming at you. I think one of the main leadership traits, which, as you know, I'm also a leadership coach and I do a lot of corporate leadership training. I feel the one of the biggest thing that the team members are looking up to from the leader is a decisive decision-making quality. All right. The leader cannot hum and haw. I mean, he could consult his team, but he has to take a decision like yes and no. You cannot say maybe, perhaps, I will see. That is not a leader, according to me. And the outdoors and extreme conditions and the war situations have always taught me that the leader has to be really fast. He really has to be quick. He cannot delay in his decision making capabilities. If I see an avalanche falling in front of me, within 10 seconds it's going to engulf all of us and bury us. So I don't have time to delay and think and hum and haw. Okay, let me think. No, there is no time to think. Right or wrong, you decide. So I feel the kind of leadership, the module that I talk about or that I have learned from my own works of life is that prompt a decision and a real decision. That means yes or no, whatever it is. It cannot be somewhere in between. It cannot be hanging. So I think in my style of leadership that I've learned, these are the two greatest takeaways I've seen is the prompt decision and a decisive decision. You cannot just leave it to your deputy leader or somebody else. So that's what has been my learning.
Well, and I love that, Satya. And one of the things that I do see in a lot of the leadership books and literature and things, articles that go past is this decisive leadership and quick, leadership. Now, one thing that I don't think these things talk about enough, or at least that hasn't really shown up for me in the things that I've read, is how much preparation goes into being able to make those decisions quickly. Would you agree?
I totally agree with you. I mean, although we say that leaders are born, maybe leaders are born, but they have to train really hard to be that.
Yeah. Okay? I don't think leaders are born personally.
A lot of people say that genetically you're a good leader. That I think that's not really right. And I'll bring in one of the. I mean, you go to any war school, even the U.S. Marines, if you ask them, that there's a fundamental dictum of especially special forces training academy and other such kind of clandestine forces that we have around the world. There's a very standard thing it says, and which is absolutely fit exactly what you said is the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. I'm sure you have heard it.
Right? Yes. So the more you sweat in peace,
this goes.
I love
the less you bleed in war.
Yes.
Okay? So, and this does not apply only to the troops; it applies to the bloody leader as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So which means now imagine when I started off as a climber, I started climbing from the age of 10. Okay? And it took me, the first international team that I led came to me only when I was 29. Okay? So imagine almost 20 years of learning and practice before somebody decided to hand over the baton of leadership to me on the mountains.
Yeah.
Similarly, in the military forces, when we join as an officer cadet, till I was actually made a company commander, it was almost 6 years of rigorous, hard, and repetitive training. Not only in decision making, but promptness, and also relying on your gut feelings. And there is so much technical training given to us because uh, a leader, as you can understand, has to be very well informed. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, one of the main thing which differentiates the leader from the team is no matter how good the team is, because team will be divided into different sections, right?
Yep.
I mean, in the outdoors, in the mountains, as well as in the forces, that the team has got very specialized, let's say, training. So somebody is comm specialist, somebody is weapon specialist, somebody is a, maybe mine specialist or whatever, a navigation specialist. But the leader, the commanding officer, or the leader on the mountain, he has to be well informed and well acquainted, well experienced with all of those departments, right?
Yes.
So he is not only a specialist of each one of them, but he is specialist of all of them, right?
Yeah.
So a leader has to really, if the team is training for 10 hours a day, I would say the leader has to train at least 15 hours a day. Okay. He cannot just sit
right.
back and say, I'm the leader, and I'm God and I'm born leader and I know everything. That's really stupid if somebody thinks like that. So I will tell you something of my own experience, that when I lead let's say a team on Everest or somewhere, and I divide them with different duties of logistics, navigation, equipment, whatever. And if they are training, if I'm putting them 8 hours a day, I am training at least 10 hours myself. And it is not only in the field, but it's also theoretical. So I have to go back because they can have a fault. They might forget. They say, sir, I've actually forgotten. What did you tell me? I cannot say that to my team. Right? I cannot say as a leader that I've forgotten.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many examples in my life that I've seen real life people. Like, okay, I've also made mistakes in my younger days. I would admit to that definitely. Yeah. So I think that every leader, no matter at what stage of leadership he is, like maybe he's a he's a middle manager, maybe a senior manager, maybe he's CEO, maybe he's the CMD. Doesn't matter. He really has to train hard. He has to keep up to the latest standards, to the latest practice in industry, be it anywhere, and he really has to stay ahead in the game, right?
Yeah.
Only then can he earn respect of his team. Like we say, the leader should not demand respect; he has to earn it.
Yes.
How does he earn it? He earns it by literally burning the midnight oil and training way more harder than the team. That's my take.
Yeah. Well, that's really great, Satya. And I've thought about our hikes here. We didn't go any place that was ultra dangerous or ultra challenging, but if things had gone wrong on one of those hikes, like things, stuff happens pretty fast when it's below zero.
Stuff happens.
And I do remember on the more challenging hikes that we went on, I was just clumping along behind you, and I had put a lot of trust in you, and
absolutely.
And I'm an Eagle Scout, and I've got some skills, but I do.
You're pretty good yourself.
Well, I do really remember how much I just put my trust in you, and I do think that you deserve that trust, and I think that as a leader, that is one of the things to just stay on top of every day of every moment of your leadership is, am I earning that trust and am I earning that respect? When I make a quick decision, is that decision going to be informed by me having really trained and studied and know what I'm doing, so that when I need to make that fast decision, I'm going to make a good decision versus just a quick decision that's not informed at all, right?
Absolutely. That's really the key, actually. Informed decision, quick decision, and a decisive decision.
Yes.
These are very, very, key points.
Yeah.
And if I can add right now, interrupt you just for a bit, of course, you're a leadership coach yourself, and I've seen a lot of people doing leadership modules, but I have a very particular module, and I call it leadership under crisis. Leadership under crisis. I think you and I have discussed it last time when we met. That I feel there is really no other form of leadership. If a leader has a highly motivated, highly educated, a perfect team, we don't really need a leader. The team will do it, right? I feel a leader is only needed when everything is falling apart. So according to me, leadership means leadership under crisis. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a module, I think, which we really need to introduce. And the kind of module I introduced to my groups is this: that there is only one kind of leadership, which is called leadership under crisis.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what the armed forces and the special forces and the submarine arm and also the mountains and extreme, outdoor conditions have taught me to be. Because there you can almost plan nothing. And I mean, like in the mountains, in a war, you have absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
So that means, and from the word go, that there's a good possibility that you and your boys are not going to come back.
Yeah.
So it is the crisis of highest order. Okay?
Yeah.
And how do you, because everybody is afraid to die, right? Nobody wants to die, right? None of us want to die.
No.
And we are prepared to die, but we don't want to die.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think there can be any greater stress or crisis on your head when you know that literally there's a bullet with your name on it, which is coming towards you.
Yeah.
And when everybody else is looking up to you and sir, okay, what should we do? So I think that's the real hallmark of leadership is leadership under crisis.
Yeah.
And in those situations, I have seen that the other three things we talked about comes in handy. That quick decision making, informed decision making, and decisive decision making, it comes in handy. In leadership under crisis. And also, this is very apparent, John. I've seen that no matter how junior or how least experienced your team might be, in a crisis, you are completely naked in front of them. They can see through you. You cannot bullshit your way through. You cannot. I mean, I know big generals and admirals have fallen apart because they just couldn't do it. And the team can see that this guy who's like a god, he's just a mortal like us. I mean, he's fallen flat on his face. Because he just doesn't know how to handle a crisis. So I think theoretically, in a perfect condition, in an academy, in a base camp, I think we all can be absolutely fantastic leaders. But leadership under crisis, I mean, either you have it or you don't have it. And how do you get it is training, being absolutely informed about everything.
Yeah.
And of course, practice.
Yeah. And listen, I feel like I'm almost a broken record with those things when I'm doing, when I'm working with people and when I'm sharing what I think matters. But that's just what it takes. And it would be fun if you could, snap your fingers and know everything, snap your fingers and have the same effect, but it doesn't work that way.
I wish it was the way.
So Satya, I got to tell you, my son, Johnny, who just turned 5, I mean, you're one of the just superhero gods in his mind. He loves you.
Thank you.
He talks about you all the time. Okay. And he makes me tell him 2 stories that I would love to have you tell us. I know you've got thousands of them, but he always asks me to tell him stories of when I almost got dead after your story. Because you've got the one on top of Mount Everest that you told him, and you've got the one in the crevasse that you told him. I'd love to have you tell us those stories, and then tell us, what do you think the lesson from each of those stories is? Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, okay, John, why not? I mean, it's a request from your son, Johnny, whom I cannot refuse. So here goes. I will first start with the story of the crevasse. I think that's the one that I told him.
Yes.
Now, John, as you know, I mean, being a very extreme climber, and I'm a bachelor. I never got married, don't have kids. I have absolutely pretty much you and Sharon are my family.
Yeah, you've dedicated your life to the mountains.
To the mountains, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't have any properties. I don't have any bank balance. I don't have a house, a car, nothing. You know it. I just have my climbing stuff. Right?
Yes.
And
people who love you all over the world. And you have
I've got hundreds and thousands of homes and families. That's true. I have lots of god kids, so which is pretty amazing by itself. And so when I was growing up, and when I got into climbing and later in the armed forces, there were a couple of philosophies and principles that I learned from life and from the mountain especially. And one of them, that how can you be happy at every instant of your life? Okay, which is independent of anything else. Okay, so try to understand it very clearly. Normally, as human beings, our happiness is always related or dependent upon something else, right? Which is external to us.
Yes.
So let's say you own a house, you have a car, you have a beautiful job, and you're happy, right? Or you have a loved one around you, so you're happy. But when these things go away from you, which it would eventually, the happiness is gone. So I realized that because I don't really own anything and I am not going to create any relationships or create any materialistic things in my life, how do I live a life of constant happiness every instant, being wherever I am, doing whatever I am? Okay?
Yeah.
So here, Zen Buddhism gave me a very good direction in life, which says living in the moment and focusing on exactly what you're doing. Okay, and if we learn to live in the moment, where you don't really care about the past, what happened, and you don't bother about the future because there is no future. I mean, in reality, there is no future because we don't really live in future ever. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you live in the moment, enjoying what you are doing right at this moment. So I'm having my masala chai and I'm talking to my dearest friend John right now, who is like 12,000 kilometers away from you.
Yeah.
And I'm totally into this moment. And I'm the happiest person in the world right at this moment. I can tell you that for sure. And so are you, I guess, right?
Yes.
So are you.
Yes. I'm thrilled. I'm so
Yeah,
happy. Yes.
absolutely. So this is the philosophy which I also talk about in my lectures and talks, as you must have seen in my motivation talks, that if we just learn to live in the moment and enjoy 100% what you and I are doing at this moment, then there is really no reason for sadness at all.
Yeah.
So with this philosophy, I've been climbing all my life. All right.
Uh-huh.
So once upon a time, long time ago, as it happens in every fairy tale, I was on this mountain. It wasn't Everest, but it was another mountain, a very big mountain. In fact, me and my team members, we made the first ascent of this peak. It is in the Himalaya. And this peak has never been climbed again thereafter. We made the first and the only ascent about 30 years back. Okay.
Wow.
So it's so what happened as we were coming down, I was kind of excited because I was very young. I was the youngest member of the team, and I took off my safety harness and safety ropes from the rest of the group, and I started running down the glacier towards the base camp, which is an absolutely wrong thing to do. You must never do that.
Okay. So there, lesson number one.
I mean, yeah. So look at me. I'm confessing to all my stupidity, in front of your worldwide audience. So I'm okay with it.
Look, I think that's great leadership, Satya, because this way we can learn from you and not make those same mistakes.
Absolutely. So I always tell my students around the world that do what I say, don't do what I do, because I do very stupid things in the mountain. So I was so excited and come back to the base camp and tell the leader that I'm the youngest member, have done this thing. So I took off my rope, took off my harness, and I literally was running down the crevasses. I'm sorry, the glacier. Okay.
Yeah.
So I broke through one of the snow bridges, which kind of covers the crevasses, and I fell through. This snow bridge, and I fell good 30 to 40 feet on my back, and there was a sharp knife edge kind of a thing of the ice, and I fell literally on that, and it kind of sprained my back and it cut my back. So, and I was kind of paralyzed momentarily, and I could see that the whole ice was turning red slowly, and I could feel something really warm oozing out from my back. And I was stuck in this crevasse, and I was looking up about 50 feet up. I could see a sliver of the blue sky. And I had absolutely no chance of coming out of there alive by myself. And I was just thinking that I was alone. Nobody has really seen me falling in these crevasses, and there are hundreds of crevasses littered around the glacier. So what happens if they don't find me? What happens if nobody even realizes that I've fallen into crevasse and they just all merrily go back to the base camp? Which means in about 30 to 40 minutes, I will just bleed to death, and then I'll have hypothermia and I'll just be there forever. Okay. And at that time, I was not even 20. I was really young. It was my first very big mountain. So then this lesson of living in the moment kicked in. I said, look, what can I do right now? Either I can die while being afraid to die, because I was going to die anyways, or I could really be happy and enjoy this moment. So I thought about this, that how do I enjoy this moment? The only way I could enjoy the moment is to enjoy the view, which is spectacular, because I was deep inside this crevasse with this blue, freaky kind of formation all around, and this sliver of a blue sky on top. Okay.
Yeah.
And I told myself that I must be one of the most fortunate people in the world who has fallen inside a crevasse and looking up into the sky and dying. So this point of view, lying inside a crevasse and looking up and looking this sliver of sky with this blue, kind of a silky display of light all around me. And I said, okay, I'm going to enjoy this moment now. If I have to die, I'll die, but I'll not die sad. I'll not die afraid of dying. I will rather enjoy this moment. So that's what happened. And as I was enjoying the display of colors and this amazing thing, and my heart was full of joy, actually, happiness that I'm dying in the mountains, which is my home, my true home.
Yeah.
And but anyway, luckily or unluckily, they found me. My team members found me, and somebody abseiled in, and they had to hack me out of there. By that time, I had gone into a shock. Actually, I had gone into severe hypothermia. They got me back to safety. Yeah. So that was my crevasse story, which was fantastic.
Yeah. Wow. Well, so don't take off your safety ropes.
Yeah, which is a lesson I learned. But then thereafter, I started going solo, where there was no safety rope to begin with, so it was fine. So that was my crevasse story. I think that's what I told Johnny about, because I think of all my crevasse stories, this was most memorable for me, because it was my first time that I fell into crevasse, and I could have almost become paralyzed, because the cut that happened in my back was very deep, and it just missed my lower spinal cord by about less than half a centimeter.
Oh,
so the doctor said that had it done that, I would have either died or I would have been completely paralyzed for the rest of my life.
Oh man!
So that was my crevasse story. Yeah, first one.
So, and the other lesson is that somehow God loves fools.
Yeah, I think so, because we have that famous saying, isn't it, that fools rush in where angels fear to tread.
Yeah.
So, and you know very well that I have lived many more lives than the nine lives of cats. I've been on the verge of death. I don't know how many times. It's might be a kind of world record, because I'm always doing these very stupid things, and I've broken pretty much every bones of my body. I have got at least 50 stitches on all over me, if not more.
Yeah.
And if I show you my knees and ankle MRI report, you will wonder, how am I still walking? Because my ortho says that you should not be walking, and I climb Everest. So he just says that you must be a wonder of you must be some freaky, weird kind of, you're not a human being. That's what he says.
Well, you're special, Satya.
I don't know. He says there is something wrong with you.
It's a good wrong, I guess. That's funny.
Well, at least for me, it's very good wrong. So yeah.
Well, and
Satya, I mean, he had a look at my MRI. Yeah.
Sorry. There is it. I think there might be another crevasse story, because I remember that one, but I think there was another one where you fell into the crevasse and your arms were pinned to your sides, and you were sitting there as it was kind of, and you were sort of slowly sinking down.
Okay. That was another one. That one happened in Argentina. That was happening in Argentina. He's right.
You want to tell us
there,
that one?
I lost a friend with me.
Yes, gosh, I'm so sorry about that.
That's not a nice story, because my friend died in that and I got saved.
Yeah.
But if you're interested, why not? What the hell? I mean, it's all in public record, so it's fine. So this this expedition was in Argentina.
Yeah.
Again, we were coming down the Andes, and there were two of us. And this was strange, because again, we were not rope, but we both were very, very good, very experienced alpinists. He was like my contemporary climber. So we were walking parallelly. And I think because it was twilight, it was pretty dark, we kind of missed out that the snow bridge was not strong enough, or we missed out the telltale sign of a crevasse, because there are many ways by looking at the surface of the glacier that we can make out that there's a crevasse there. But I think we two were exhausted. Maybe we were just talking to each other. So we were horizontally, I think we were about maybe 20-25 feet apart. That's about it. Parallelly, both of us coming down. So suddenly what happened, we both fell through. So we pretty much, both of us stepped onto the same snow bridge of the same crevasse, and we fell through. And it was just not my day that day, that where I fell, the crevasse was converging. So it was like a cone, it was like a cone.
Yeah.
So I fell about 10 meters, and with acceleration, I just got stuck there. So with a big woof, like all my breath was pushed out of my lungs. So my waist and the abdomen was stuck in this kind of funnel kind of a shape, with my legs hanging free. And below that, I couldn't see the bottom. I put my headlamp and I couldn't see the bottom of the glacier, bottom of the crevasse at all.
Yeah.
And my hands were also stuck there, just my head up and my legs dangling below. And right in front of my eyes, I saw my friend, because where he fell, the crevasse was diverging. So it was opposite our funnel. And he just, with a loud scream, he just disappeared in front of me into the darkness. So, this is what I talk about when I say living in the moment, that just in less than a second, your life can change, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And although we know it, I mean, you and I know it, but people who live in normal city conditions, they are not exposed to this reality of life. So for them, it's a theory. But for people like me, it is my everyday life, that life can just change like that. So you should not take granted anything, right? And you should be really living every moment, because if this moment could be your last. And that's my philosophy, that I live every day of my life as if it's the last day of my life, right?
Yeah.
And when I wake up next morning, I always say that this is the first day for the rest of my life. So this is
that's awesome.
Yeah. So so when I saw my friend just falling into the darkness and he just disappeared, I don't know how far he fell, and his scream just kind of resonated within the crevasse. Kind of an echo came, and then absolute silence. And then I said, because at that moment, I think the survival instinct of a human being kicked in my head. I did not really feel any grief for his loss, at that, to be very honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just kind of looked at my own predicament, that what the hell would I do now?
Yeah.
And as I started struggling, because I was also getting, the lungs were squeezed anyway. I don't know, and I can't stand up because my legs are not touching anywhere.
Yeah.
And look at my devil's luck, that this funneling effect was only happening in a width of about 2 meters, maybe just 5 to 6. If I had gone a little bit that or a little bit that side, I would have joined my friend as well.
Yeah.
So, and as I started wriggling here and there, it generated a bit of heat, and the ice started melting. So I was slowly sliding down as the ice was melting with my body heat. So I said, I cannot wriggle now. I have to keep this ice in frozen condition. I have to keep it ice. Because if it melts, then I'll just keep sliding down, and then that'll be the end of for me as well. So that was, I think, this must be one of the most unpredictable events that has ever happened with me, because no amount of training, no amount of previous experiences had ever taught me that you could really be in a situation like this ever.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I had absolutely no clue how to come out of it. There didn't seem to be any solution to it, except that over time with my body heat, the ice is going to melt, and then the funnel will become wide enough for me to just slip through and just disappear into the dark void. Okay. At the same time, I had to do something, otherwise my limbs will freeze anyways.
Yeah.
So this was just like walking on a eggshell, that you don't want to break it, but you have to walk. So I think I managed to wriggle one arm very, very gently out of the pinned position. So I had to bring it out. By that time, my shoulders, my elbow, everything was completely frozen. And I remember that I had to literally chew on my gloves to get some blood flowing in my fingers. And thank God that I had the ice axe on a leash around my wrist. Otherwise, I would have lost it. And my legs were completely dead by then. There was no blood flowing there, and I had to chew on the gloves to get my fingers going. Then I had to start chewing my elbow, my whatever I could chew, because only my mouth was moving at that time. And then I could free the other hand again. It was I don't know how much time the whole thing took, because I lost the track of time completely.
Yeah.
I think at that moment I was really living every moment. Actually, that day I must have lived really every moment.
Yes.
Just because I have this philosophy that, John, when there is nothing you can do, like we face the situation, right? When there is nothing you can do, then just do what you can. That's my philosophy. When there is nothing you can do, just do what you can.
Yes.
Because unless until you are dead, you are capable of doing something, right? It might not even seem relevant. Hello.
I'm here. Yeah, we're still here.
Hello. Yeah.
There you go.
So it might not even seem relevant, the action that you're doing, because when there is nothing that you can do, then there is no logic. Just do whatever you can. And which to me means that even if I can wriggle my pinky, I will wriggle my pinky, because that's the only thing I can do at that.
Yeah.
So I think that day I was really, really following that principle of mine, because I had no clue, no amount of training or experience had ever prepared me for that kind of extreme situation.
Yeah.
And I might have looked like a zombie, a slow moving zombie or something. And again, chewing and biting, and literally I had to draw blood from my fingers. Otherwise the blood wouldn't flow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because I was already getting into the initial stages of shock, my vital organs were starting to shut down.
Yeah.
Loss of blood, the cold, lack of oxygen, and just dangling like that.
Yeah.
And knowing very well that you are absolutely going to die today. But I don't think I was afraid about anything, but because I was so focused on the action that I could.
Yes.
And after that, once I got both my ice axes out, and thank God that I'm a fairly decent ice climber, as you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Yeah.
So I could reach out and put both the pick of both my ice axes onto the very high, very, very hard ice. And once I saw that I could put some weight on it, then what I did was I had to wriggle and generate some heat so that the ice would start melting around my waist and abdomen, and I could pull myself up. But when I tried to pull myself up with my legs, with my arms, I found that my legs were completely useless. By then. They were like completely frozen. They were lifeless. Totally. It was like I was paralyzed waist down.
Yeah.
And there is no way I can chew onto my legs. My mouth will not
can't get those to your mouth. Yeah.
Exactly. So I was literally like a trapeze artist, just hanging, just with my two hands over the void with useless legs. So I am not sure. I mean, this happened many, many years, at least about 20 years back. I don't know how I did it, but I did it because I did not think, I did not even ask myself that, can this even be done? Can I do it? So I think I just did it, the famous headline of Nike, just do it. And I think that's an amazing line that they came out with. They don't think, just bloody do it,
Yeah.
So I think if that day I tried to think, I wouldn't be here talking to you.
Yeah.
I'm quite sure of that. But that day I just did it. Everything that was within my capacity, within my strength, within my limits, and maybe some more. And of course, the mountain gods were with me for that, on that day for sure, as they have been on many other occasions since and before.
Yeah.
And after a long, long time, I found myself outside the crevasse, completely exhausted, literally dead. And then I just stayed there. I think the whole night I kind of just flopped there like a dead fish and stayed there. And only with the dawn kind of woke up, and then I went back to the base camp and informed about my friend. And we did not find his body. Never found his body.
Yeah.
So that's that's another crevasse story.
That is the story that Johnny just is transfixed by, of course. And I am sorry about your friend, and it sounds like he probably did, like you, he loved the mountains. So got to go one day. Right. But I'm still very sorry about that.
No, John, I don't, I think that was it. Look, we all have to die, right? We all have to die one day.
Yes.
But the thing is, I think there is no better way to die than doing what you really love doing and you're passionate about, and dying exactly where you want to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So as you know, I've told you this, that my wish is one day I'll go into the Himalaya and I'll never come back. Yeah. And I really pray to God that that's exactly the way I should go. Yeah. I mean, I would really hate it if I die in a city. I would hate myself if I die in a city.
Well, I guess so
I think he was all right. Yeah. I think he was all right. I think all my friends who die in the mountains, they're really happy soul up there, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and how about the time on Mount Everest?
Well, which one are you talking about? I had been on Mount Everest.
We're talking about the time when you decided you
wanted I slept off.
Yes.
Slept off. the famous incident.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. So here it was. So this was So I was leading a team from the north side, from the Tibet side, which is a little more challenging than the south side.
Uh-huh.
So that day we had a series of mishaps, not with my team, but with other teams. And we had to join some rescue efforts. We had to recover some bodies. I mean, there are a lot of things which were going wrong that day. Okay?
Yeah.
So whatever, the long story short was that as I was stepping up to the summit, it was already pretty late in the day and my team had already submitted. So I just told them that, don't worry, you guys go down and I'll catch up on the way back. So suddenly, can you imagine? I found myself absolutely alone on the summit of Everest.
Yeah.
Now,
wow.
Now that's an almost impossibility in today's world where there are so many commercial
expeditions
going on. Although ours was not a commercial expedition, but we were in a commercial season, right?
Yeah.
In the spring season. So suddenly I find myself on the summit of Everest all by myself. Just imagine the top of the world just belongs to me. I mean, for me, that was one of those hallelujah moments, like I have achieved.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. I mean, and I don't really like human beings at all. So I love my own space. And I said, bloody hell.
Yeah.
How lucky could I be that after so many summits of Everest, I am here all by myself. And I committed perhaps one of the greatest mistakes that one could on Everest or on any high mountains. What I did was I sat down on the summit. I sat down. I literally sat down on my back, and I looked, and I could see all the way to Kanchenjunga. Kanchenjunga is very far from there, but I could see all the way from there. I could see Makalu, I could see Lhotse, I could see Choyu, I could see Manaslu, I could see all the mountains that I've climbed in my life, right? And so many 7,000 meters I could see into the Tibet, I could see Gauri-Shankar. I mean, you name it and I've seen it. So I sat down, and I think because I was all alone by myself, so I was a bit careless as well because I was not bothered about anybody else's safety at all.
Right.
Just me. So I sat down and I was remembering my life. I was looking back that, I had climbed that peak, I had climbed that peak, thinking of all my friends whom I have lost in the mountains, thinking of all the accidents that has happened to me. It was just a kind of a flashback, like watching a movie of my own life.
Yeah.
And I got completely caught up in the moment, And at some point of time, I just dozed off. That's something I'm sure nobody in the world has ever done that, sleeping off at the summit of Everest. I'm quite sure I'm the only one. It must be one of those some kind of record. So I just slept off. I just bloody slept off. And at some point, suddenly something, I don't know whether it was I feel it was the spirit of one of my friends who just woke me up, like one of my dead friends who must have just woke me up, or maybe it was a blast of the wind from the Tibet. I really don't know what it was. So suddenly I woke up with a start, right?
Oh, dude, can you imagine?
I looked around, and for 10 seconds, I had no clue where I was. I had no idea because I was very, very fast asleep.
Yeah.
And I looked at this, and the sun was almost setting. It was like well past 6, which is impossible. Like Everest turnaround time is 12. 12 is Everest turnaround time. Maximum we allow 2 p.m., not beyond 2 p.m. And it was well past 6. The sun was setting at the horizon. And suddenly struck me that, Satya, you are on the top of Everest all by yourself. And the sun is about to set. So I must have slept off for a good 2 to 3 hours for sure. Slept, which meant my oxygen was gone. I was just breathing empty air from my cylinder. There was no oxygen left in my thing. And then I checked my meter. There was no oxygen. The bottle was showing 0. Okay.
Yeah.
And I said, bloody hell, how do I go down now? And I could see all the monsoon, dark clouds were rushing in from the Nepal side because it was the end of May. And I said, all right, let's go. I mean, there's nothing else you can do. And I started coming down. And that descent from the summit of Everest became my most epic escape from Everest for sure. And one of the most epic in my entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, how I came back, because my team had thought that I was dead because I was caught in this massive storm. Then the snow started falling literally like waterfall. It looked like the heavens had opened up. So I was buried. I fell. All the fixed ropes were gone. None of the summit camp was occupied because everybody had gone down. My team wasn't there. So I was all alone up there. And coming back from the north side is really, really tricky. And that too without oxygen, without any food, without anything.
Yeah.
And my team by that time had realized, because my walkie-talkie was dead, the battery was gone. So they thought that the leader is gone, he's not there anymore. So people were kind of, uh, trying to think how to inform my mother back home in India that well, your son is really gone.
Right.
So yeah, that was really really epic, and yeah, I mean that's a very long story if I have to tell you that how I came back. But I think. I was okay with that because I mean who sleeps on the top of Everest, and I have.
Right.
So I think at the end of the day I'm happy that I did something which nobody has done and perhaps nobody will ever do. So
Yeah.
that is okay. And I'm alive. That's the main thing. I'm still here with you. So
Yeah.
that's all that really matters.
Well, when we said hello to each other before we started this recording, Johnny got up. Sharon and Johnny came down to say hello to you, and Johnny leaned up into the microphone and said, "I'm glad you're alive."
Yes, I know. He said that.
So am
well,
I, Satya.
well, John. Let me tell you. Every morning when I wake up, I say the same thing to myself: that Satya, I'm glad that you're still alive. Okay.
Yes. Good. Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Well, so Satya, I know that we're coming up on probably time to go here, but is there you know what I would love? How can people find your mom's cookbook? I'll put that in the notes.
John, what I'll do is because now it is available for free download, so I've removed it from Amazon, but it is available in many other sites like Barnes and Nobles. It is available in Smashwords. You just have to type the name of the book and type my name, and it will come. It is free download now. Anybody can download both the books for free. So, so should I send you a note after this, and then you can put it up as a note up for the top?
Send me a note after this, and I will make sure that goes.
I will actually. What I'll do is I will send you the download links. Okay, I'll send you the download.
Okay, we'll just put that in the show notes. And I do have to say, we've tested out a bunch of those recipes, and your mom is a good cook.
Oh, thanks a lot, John. She's happy somewhere up there.
Yeah, that's good. So,
John, I could also send you the Amazon link of my Kindle book, The Life on Top, the motivational book. Maybe that could be useful as well. What do you think?
Absolutely, Satya. Life on Top. Okay. It's a great book, and I highly recommend. I'm so sorry that I didn't even think to say that earlier. But if you've enjoyed listening to some of these tales, and if you've enjoyed Satya's outlook on leadership and life, then definitely go to Amazon and get his book, Life on Top by Satyabrata Dam. And we'll put a link to that into the show notes as well. So what else, Satya? Is there anything else you'd just like to say before I let you go this time?
Well, John, I would like to tell every audience that you have worldwide that I know we are going through a very rough time right now with the COVID thing and with all sorts of things happening in Afghanistan and around the world.
Yes.
But I just would like to tell you that there is always hope as long as you're alive.
Yes.
And I will like to conclude with a quote of my own. It's the original quote, that life is short, no matter how long you live. Life is short, no matter how long you live. So live. Live fully, live in the moment, and just go for your dreams. Don't be scared of your dreams. And in Gita, because I'm a follower of Gita, the holy book in India, which says that what you and I can do as human beings is that we have no control over the outcome of our actions, but we must take the action. Our control is only take the action, whatever you believe in. And when you take the action, go all out. Don't leave any stones unturned. And after that, leave the outcome of your action under somebody. And I think you'll never be disappointed in life, and you'll always be living in the moment. And see you guys on top always.
Beautiful Satya. I'm so glad I know you. I'm so glad you're in my life, and I really appreciate you coming and sharing these stories and these insights and this wisdom with us here on Speak Like a Leader show. Excuse me. I can't wait to see you again. Can't wait to go bag some more peaks here right around my home in Salt Lake City.
This time you have to come to the Himalaya.
Okay, well, we got to do that too. We got to do that too. We'll definitely do that too.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Satya, thank you very much. And I wish you a great rest of your day. I will look forward to talking again. I think we're going to have to get you back on the show again sometime here soon. So, because this is just too much fun. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, sure, John, anytime. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for joining the Speak Like a Leader podcast. Go be awesome.